Old Hollywood sold you perfection. Perfect marriages. Perfect smiles. Perfect love stories printed in glossy magazines and read by millions who believed every word. None of it was true. Behind the studio gates, contracts controlled who a star could love, who they could be photographed with, and who they had to pretend didn't exist. Some of the biggest names in film history were living double lives, hiding lovers, hiding children, hiding entire relationships the public was never allowed to know about. A leading man forced into marriage to protect his image. A golden couple whose entire romance may have been a studio-built lie. A superstar who vanished from the screen for months to hide a pregnancy that could have ended her career overnight. A friendship so intimate that two of the most famous men in the world shared a house, and a secret. These weren't scandals whispered once and forgotten. They shaped who got cast, who got blacklisted, and who got quietly erased from history. 15 of the most explosive hidden affairs in Hollywood's golden age are coming up, starting with a scandal so shocking it still divides fans today. Stay until the end, the final one changed everything. Legend number 15, Liza Minnelli and Peter Allen. Liza Minnelli was Hollywood royalty, the daughter of Judy Garland, carrying a legacy few could match. Peter Allen was a magnetic Australian performer her own mother had discovered. Grieving and searching for stability after losing Garland, Liza found comfort in Peter, and the two seemed destined to become one of Hollywood's golden couples. But their wedding night delivered a gut punch nobody saw coming. Liza reportedly walked in on her new husband with another man. Peter was gay, and he had never told her. She later joked bitterly about the moment, saying she'd never surprise anyone coming home again because she'd learned to call first, a joke that masked real heartbreak. Rather than walk away immediately, Liza stayed, and while filming Cabaret she began her own affair with music producer Desi Arnaz Jr.'s circle, using the relationship almost as retaliation, flaunting it in front of Peter to even the score. But Peter's betrayals went further than anyone expected. He began a secret relationship with Liza's own stepfather, a revelation so humiliating it destroyed whatever was left of their marriage. After years of infidelity on both sides, the couple finally divorced in 1974. What looked like a fairy tale pairing of two showbiz dynasties turned out to be one of the most tangled, secretive unions in Hollywood history, proof that even stars raised inside the industry couldn't escape its cruelest games. Legend number 14, Charlie Chaplin and Lita Grey. Charlie Chaplin was already a global icon when he met Lita Grey, a girl of just 16 working on one of his film sets. He was 35. The age gap alone made the relationship one Chaplin desperately needed to hide, terrified of what the press would do if word got out. But secrecy couldn't stop nature. Lita became pregnant, and in an era when a scandal like this could end a career overnight, Chaplin did the only thing he believed would save his reputation: he rushed her into marriage. The wedding took place quietly in Mexico in 1924, far from Hollywood's cameras and gossip columns. But a marriage built on damage control rarely survives, and this one didn't. Chaplin and Lita clashed constantly, and by 1927 their union collapsed into one of the ugliest, most publicized divorces the industry had ever witnessed. The courtroom became a stage of its own, exposing Chaplin's controlling behavior and infidelities to a stunned public. Reporters who had once worshipped him now dissected every accusation, and the case became a defining scandal of the era, a reminder that behind the silent film genius was a man who had built his family life on secrecy, pressure, and an imbalance the public would only fully understand decades later. Legend number 13, Gary Cooper's Golden Age Web, Marlon Brando and Rita Moreno. Few Hollywood romances burned as hot, or as destructively, as Marlon Brando and Rita Moreno's. From the moment they met in 1954, the attraction was instant. Moreno later admitted meeting him left her flushed head to toe. But being with Brando meant sharing him. Over 8 years, he repeatedly cheated on her, even marrying other women while their affair continued in the background. Rita couldn't fully let go, staying tangled in the relationship despite the pain. Eventually she found her own way to strike back, accepting the attention of Elvis Presley, knowing exactly how it would land. It worked. Brando reportedly exploded in jealous rage, throwing furniture when he found out, even though Rita later confessed Elvis never came close to what she felt for Brando. The relationship's darkest chapter came when Rita became pregnant and Brando pressured her into an abortion that went badly wrong, leaving her physically and emotionally shattered, and Brando, by her account, more concerned with the money spent than her suffering. The devastation pushed Rita to a breaking point so severe she attempted to take her own life. She survived, but the relationship could not. It stands as one of the most painful hidden affairs of the era, hidden not because of scandal alone, but because of how much it cost her. Legend number 12, Betty Davis and William Wyler. Betty Davis crossed paths with countless men throughout her career, but she always said one man was the one that got away, director William Wyler. Their connection sparked while making two of her most celebrated films back-to-back in 1940 and 1941. Davis later admitted, without hesitation, that Wyler was the love of her life, everything she had ever wanted in a man. Wyler, however, remembered things differently. He described her as brilliant but overwhelming, more intense than anyone he had ever known, and ultimately too much for him to handle long-term. Their stories about what actually ended things don't even match. Davis insisted she wanted marriage, Wyler insisted she told him otherwise. Whatever the truth, their romance burned out quickly but never left her. Years later, Davis visited him on the set of his sweeping epic Ben-Hur, hoping perhaps for some flicker of what they'd once had. Instead, Wyler greeted her with polite, distant courtesy, as if the affair had simply never happened. For Davis, that single moment confirmed something she'd likely suspected for years, that no matter how deeply she had loved him, it was never fully returned. Their affair, never made public in its time, remains one of the most quietly heartbreaking secrets of her personal life. Legend number 11, Lana Turner and Johnny Stompanato. Lana Turner was one of Hollywood's most luminous stars, but her personal life took a dark turn when she became involved with Johnny Stompanato, a man with direct ties to organized crime figure Mickey Cohen. Their relationship was volatile from the start, filled with jealousy, control, and increasingly frightening confrontations that alarmed everyone close to her. Stompanato's temper made him dangerous, yet Turner struggled to leave, seemingly drawn deeper into the intensity of the relationship even as her family grew more afraid for her safety. The breaking point came in 1958, when Stompanato showed up at Turner's Beverly Hills home during a violent argument. Her 14-year-old daughter, overhearing the escalating fight and fearing for her mother's life, grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed Stompanato. He died almost instantly. The case exploded into a national sensation. During the trial, Turner delivered raw, emotional testimony describing the abuse she had endured throughout the relationship, and the court ultimately ruled the killing justified as self-defense. But the scandal left a permanent mark on Turner's public image, forever linking one of Hollywood's brightest stars to one of its most violent private tragedies, a story that revealed just how dangerous the affairs hidden behind studio-polished smiles could really be. Legend number 10, Rita Hayworth, Orson Welles and Prince Ali Khan. Rita Hayworth, celebrated as Hollywood's love goddess, lived a love life as dramatic as any film she starred in. In 1943 she stunned the industry by marrying Orson Welles in a quiet courthouse ceremony during a lunch break, despite rumors she'd recently been linked to another actor entirely. The marriage didn't hold, and by 1946 the two had separated. Soon after, on a trip to the French Riviera, Hayworth's beauty caught the attention of Prince Ali Khan, a known playboy determined to meet her. He enlisted a well-connected gossip columnist to arrange an introduction, and despite Hayworth's plans to leave early, she stayed, and was instantly captivated. Both were still technically married to other people, which didn't stop the relationship from becoming public knowledge and igniting outrage across Hollywood. Studio boss Harry Cohn was furious enough to sue Hayworth for over $1 million after she stepped away from acting to be with Ali, while the British press branded the affair an insult to decent society. None of it stopped them. They married in France in 1949 and welcomed a daughter soon after. But Ali's repeated infidelities eventually wore Hayworth down, and she filed for divorce in 1951, triggering a bitter custody battle that dragged on for nearly a decade, until Ali's sudden death in 1960 finally closed the chapter. Legend number 9, Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. For decades, the public was fed one of Hollywood's most beloved love stories, Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, devoted partners on and off screen. But insiders close to the industry later claimed the entire romance may have been a carefully engineered cover story. Hepburn was reportedly gay, and Tracy was said to be bisexual, and the studio system, terrified of anything that didn't fit its wholesome image, paired them together publicly to protect both of their careers. Behind the scenes, Hepburn allegedly asked a well-known Hollywood fixer to arrange discreet companionship for her on more than 100 occasions. In public, though, she and Tracy played their roles perfectly, appearing as a devoted, inseparable couple for nearly 3 decades. Hepburn herself later admitted to a biographer that the relationship was far more complicated than fans ever knew, and that she stayed loyal to Tracy through his struggles with alcoholism and his other relationships simply because she loved him and wanted to be near him. It was an era when authenticity could destroy a career overnight, and survival sometimes meant living a scripted life in public while carrying an entirely different truth in private. Hepburn and Tracy's story endures as one of the most talked about, and possibly most misunderstood, romances in film history. Legend number 8, Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier. Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier's romance ignited the moment Olivier watched her perform on stage in 1936. He was instantly captivated, and Leigh reportedly told a friend that very night that she intended to marry him. The problem, both were already married to other people. Olivier later admitted in his own memoir that he'd married his first wife mostly out of a lack of confidence that he could do better. Once he was cast in a major stage production the following year, Leigh began visiting constantly, and their bond deepened while filming together, with Olivier describing what he felt as love too powerful to resist. Despite guilt over betraying their spouses, both were certain this was different from anything they'd experienced before. Eventually they left their marriages behind, moved in together before their divorces were even finalized, and married in California once they were free. But happiness didn't last. Leigh's struggles with alcohol, several miscarriages, and a prolonged affair with another actor placed enormous strain on the marriage, and by 1960 the couple divorced. Even so, Olivier never lost his tenderness for her, later writing to say she had endured it all nobly, bravely, and beautifully, and that he was deeply sorry for how much pain it must have caused her, a bittersweet coda to one of the era's most consuming love stories. Legend number 7, Humphrey Bogart, Mayo Method and Lauren Bacall. Humphrey Bogart's marriage to Mayo Method was explosive from day one, earning them the nickname, the Battling Bogarts, from a press that couldn't get enough of their public blow-ups. Alcohol-fueled constant, sometimes violent arguments between them, escalating to the point that during a wartime tour in 1944, the two reportedly fired guns at each other in a drunken rage. In the middle of this chaos, Bogart met a 19-year-old newcomer on a film set. He was 44. Despite the age gap, their chemistry was undeniable, and Bogart made the first move, visiting her trailer late one night to kiss her and ask for her number. She would later say he became the man who meant everything to her. Even so, Bogart didn't leave his marriage immediately, repeatedly trying to patch things up with Method, who at one point caught him on the phone with his new love and erupted in jealous fury. Eventually, after one particularly disastrous holiday, Bogart walked away for good. He divorced Method in May of 1945, and just 11 days later married his young co-star. Their romance became one of the most celebrated love stories in film history, but Method never recovered from the loss, and she died just a few years later, a quiet tragedy behind one of Hollywood's most iconic happy endings. Legend number 6, Cary Grant and Randolph Scott. Cary Grant and Randolph Scott were two of the most admired leading men of their generation, and their unusually close friendship became one of the most persistent rumors in Hollywood history. The pair met in the 1930s and quickly became inseparable, even sharing a home in Malibu that friends jokingly nicknamed Bachelor Hall. Photographs from that period show the two men relaxed, laughing, and physically at ease with each other in ways that fueled constant speculation about the true nature of their bond. Studio executives were far from amused. Hollywood's golden age demanded spotless, traditionally masculine images from its biggest stars, and any hint of a same-sex relationship carried the risk of ending a career instantly. Both men responded by publicly dating and, in Grant's case, marrying multiple times over the years, yet the whispers about his friendship with Scott never fully disappeared. Neither actor ever confirmed nor denied what the relationship truly was. Grant once deflected the endless rumors with a joke, saying he doubted he'd marry again and might instead just find a woman he disliked and buy her a house. Whether their bond was simply an extraordinary friendship or something the era refused to let them acknowledge, it remains one of Hollywood's most enduring and carefully guarded mysteries. Legend number 5, Audrey Hepburn and William Holden. Audrey Hepburn and William Holden's chemistry ignited on the set of Sabrina in 1954. Holden had admired her before they ever worked together, and once filming began, his admiration turned into genuine, consuming feelings. Their on-screen spark mirrored real off-screen passion, and the two found themselves in a secret affair, one that was doomed almost from the start. Holden was already married, struggling with alcohol, and carrying emotional weight that made him far from the partner Audrey may have envisioned for herself. Still, he fell hard enough to propose. But Audrey wanted children more than almost anything, and Holden revealed he'd had a vasectomy years earlier, a devastating realization that shattered any future they might have built together. Heartbroken, Audrey turned down his proposal. Holden later confessed he had truly been in love with her, but she simply wouldn't marry him. A decade later, in 1964, the two reunited for another film, but by then Audrey was married and Holden's old feelings hadn't faded at all. His attempts to rekindle things led to one particularly humiliating night when, reportedly intoxicated, he tried to climb up to her dressing room window and fell before he ever reached her, a painfully fitting final chapter to a romance that never got the ending either of them wanted. Legend number 4, Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra. Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra's relationship was as electric as it was chaotic. When they met, Sinatra's career was fading and he was still married with 3 children, but none of that mattered once he saw Ava. Their affair moved fast and burned hot, though Sinatra's intense jealousy repeatedly threatened to derail it. During a trip to Spain, he confronted her over rumors of an affair with a bullfighter, and when she admitted it had happened, he reacted with fury. Even so, their pull toward each other proved stronger than the drama. Once Sinatra told his wife he was in love with Ava, she locked him out of the house, and though his guilt delayed things further, he eventually left his marriage entirely to be with her. Just 10 days after his divorce was finalized, the two married, instantly becoming tabloid gold. The public largely blamed Ava for breaking up Sinatra's family, painting her as the woman who lured him away, and the constant scrutiny combined with his career struggles made their marriage a magnet for conflict. Arguments, jealousy, and relentless public attention defined their years together, cementing their relationship as one of the most talked about and turbulent love stories Hollywood had ever seen. Legend number 3, Elizabeth Taylor, Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor were once the closest of friends, having grown up together as teenagers in the business and remaining close through years of fame. Reynolds married singer Eddie Fisher in 1955, and the couple had 2 children. Around the same time, Taylor married producer Mike Todd, and the two couples were often seen together, seemingly the picture of Hollywood friendship. Everything changed in 1958 when Todd died suddenly in a plane crash. Fisher, trying to comfort his devastated friend, found his sympathy quietly turning into something else, and what began as support spiraled into an affair that stunned the industry. Taylor later admitted the connection was tangled up in grief, saying the only thing she and Fisher ever truly shared was Mike, and that she never loved him the way people assumed. Regardless, Fisher left Reynolds, and the public reaction was swift and brutal. Taylor was branded a homewrecker while Reynolds was cast as the wronged, devoted wife. Fisher and Taylor married mere hours after his divorce was finalized, but the marriage was rocky from day one and didn't survive Taylor's next scandalous relationship. Years later, Reynolds and Taylor reconnected on a cruise, slowly rebuilding the friendship the affair had shattered, eventually even working together again, proof that even Hollywood's most public betrayals didn't always have to be the final word. Legend number 2, Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood's golden girl, celebrated for playing pure, virtuous characters that shaped how the public saw her off-screen as well. But her real life told a very different story. Already married and living separately from her husband by the time her career exploded in the 1940s, Bergman's world changed completely when she met Italian director Roberto Rossellini while filming abroad in 1950. Their affair began while she was still legally married, and she soon became pregnant with his child. The scandal detonated instantly. Audiences who believed she embodied the same wholesome purity as her film roles felt personally betrayed, and a sitting U.S. senator publicly condemned her on the floor of Congress. Boycotts followed, theaters pulled her films, and the press hunted her relentlessly. Bergman ultimately fled to Europe, where she and Rossellini went on to have 3 children together, including a daughter who would later become a celebrated actress in her own right. The affair ended her first marriage and strained her relationship with the daughter she'd left behind, but her career eventually recovered, and she returned to Hollywood years later. Even so, the affair with Rossellini permanently marked her as one of the most controversial figures the industry had ever seen, a cautionary tale about the gap between a star's image and her reality. Legend number 1, Clark Gable and Loretta Young. Clark Gable, crowned the king of Hollywood, and Loretta Young, known for her spotless public image, shared a secret so explosive it stayed buried for decades. The two met while filming together in 1935. Gable, already married and famously charming, drew the 23-year-old Young into his orbit, but their story turned dark during a train ride back to Hollywood. Alone with him in her compartment, Young would only reveal years later that Gable forced himself on her that night. The consequences were life-altering. Young became pregnant, and in an industry with a merciless moral code, revealing the father would have destroyed her career instantly. She disappeared from the public eye, quietly gave birth, and staged an adoption of her own biological daughter to conceal the truth, raising the child while maintaining the fiction that she wasn't her birth mother. Gable, for his part, wanted nothing to do with the situation. He reportedly tore up the telegram announcing his daughter's birth, never acknowledged her publicly, rarely visited, and refused financial support for years. The full truth stayed hidden until it was finally revealed in Young's memoir, published after her death, a final, devastating confirmation of one of Hollywood's most carefully guarded and painful secrets, closing out the darkest chapter of this list.